Yo, what's good? Look, I ended up looking at a Facebook post this morning comparing Michael Jordan and LeBron James, and that's fine. I also heard the same debate. It happens a few minutes later when I turned on the satellite radio with Skip and Shannon Undisputed. And I guess one of the arguments that I hear against Michael Jordan is the 92-93 Bulls team that he was on that won the championship, well, won 57 games in the regular season. When he retires the following year, the 93-94 Bulls team without Michael Jordan wins 55 games. So they won two less games than the Bulls the season before with Michael Jordan. Well, some of the people who I guess choose to try to rewrite history or have selective amnesia, whatever, tend to think that that means that basically the Bulls were good with or without Michael Jordan. They were just as good with or without Michael Jordan. I got to tell you, that's when you look at the numbers, the raw numbers, and then when you look at the formulas that are based off of the raw numbers. I mean, you could look at offensive rating, defensive efficiency, all those things. I like to look at the Pythagorean expectation, which is just a basic formula that's it's based off of point differential, how many points you scored versus how many points you allowed. They take a ratio, they multiply it times total games played, which is 82, and you get a team value. You get a value of that team and a win expectation. So the 92-93 Bulls team that won the finals against the Phoenix Suns, they had a Pythagorean win-loss of 58. So they were projected to win 58 games. They ended up coming just shy of that. The 93-94 Bulls team, after Michael Jordan retired, ends up with a Pythagorean win-loss of 50 and 32. So they're basically, this is a 50-win team. And with Michael Jordan the year before, they were a 58-win team, which is a huge difference in the NBA, by the way. So what ends up happening is this 92-93 Bulls team, as we just pointed out, they beat a Knicks team that was just as tough as the Knicks team that the 93-94 Bulls team lost to. Well, they beat this Knicks team with Michael Jordan and ended up going on to the finals and beating the Phoenix Suns. Well, that Knicks team in the 92-93 season, of course, they won 60 games. I think their Pythagorean expected win-loss was a little shy of that. But they were clearly just as good as the Knicks team that the Bulls lost to in 93-94. I point that out because if you go back to the Knicks Bulls series in 93-94, I believe it's a 7-game series, right? Without Michael Jordan, they had a key addition on that team, and it's Tony Kukoc. Tony Kukoc was not on the 92-93 Bulls team. Now, before you start mocking the fact that Tony Kukoc makes a huge difference, let's keep in mind, if you go to game 3, the Knicks won the first 2 games, just like they did the year before when they faced off against the Bulls with Michael Jordan. Game 3 in 92-93 was a game that went decisively to the Bulls. 93-94, we're talking about a game that comes down to the wire. Remember the infamous game where Pippen decides he's not going out there on the last play. And the Bulls are down. They end up getting a huge, either they're down or they're tied. They end up getting a huge turnaround shot, a beautiful shot from Tony Kukoc that goes in. So Tony Kukoc ends up hitting the shot that allows him to win the game. They go on to win the next game, and they go down to game 7. They lose game 7. But it's clear that Pippen, their best player, was on the bench, and Phil Jackson, depending on which account you want to go to, decided he wanted to go to Tony Kukoc, which either angered Pippen to put him on the bench, or Pippen was on the bench. They went to Tony Kukoc. Not sure what went on the sidelines. All I know is that Tony Kukoc saved the Bulls season by hitting that turnaround jump shot. And the Bulls go on to win. They end up losing the series, however. What gets kind of lost as well is the Bulls have another season without Michael Jordan. They started the 94-95 season without Michael Jordan. They actually end up going 34-31 before Michael Jordan comes back March the 19th, I believe, against the Pacers. I believe that was his first game back. Once Michael Jordan comes back on the team, the Bulls go 13-4 and earn a playoff berth, a higher seed than they would have. If Michael Jordan doesn't return to that team, the Bulls were projected to win. I think, and this is just based off strict win-losses, not the Pythagorean expectation. I'm not sure what that is for their 34-31 record before Michael Jordan came. But they would have went 43, 42. They would have ended up winning about 42 or 43 games. So basically, a near 500 team is what they would have been 94-95 if Michael Jordan hadn't returned. He returns, they end up going 13-4. And this is Michael Jordan that is clearly not in game shape. He shot 41% from the field, his lowest field goal percentage of his career. So he's clearly coming in towards the end of the season. He didn't work out with the team during the offseason. They end up losing to the Orlando Magic. That's that team with Shaq and Penny. According to the Pythagorean expectation, this is a team that was top 3 in the league, the best offense in the league. They were better or at least equal to that Knicks team in 93-94 that went all the way to the finals, losing to the Rockets. So this is a very good Magic team. The Bulls lose in 6 games with Michael Jordan shooting, less than 41%, I believe, in the postseason. He shot 41% in the regular season. So a Michael Jordan that's clearly not as efficient as he would prove to be the following season. Now, this is a team with Tony Kukoc, Steve Kerr, now Dennis Rodman is added to the mix. The Bulls in the 95-96 season, they go on to win 72 games. And then they go on to win the first of 3 straight NBA titles. So they actually performed better than they did when they won their first 3 titles against the Lakers, the Blazers, and the Suns in the early 90s. My point in all of this is that when you look at all of the metrics, the Pythagorean expectation, when you look at the roster changes, it is clearly a loss of value for the Chicago Bulls in the 93-94 season when they could have easily been swept by the Knicks if it wasn't for a Tony Kukoc turnaround jumper. It's clearly being combed over by, I think, either people that don't know basketball history or don't care to follow it and have an agenda. That Bulls team in 93-94 needed Michael Jordan. They were a projected 50-win team. When you look at their offensive efficiency, it wasn't as good. They were clearly, with the Scottie Pippen even performing and taking on more of a workload, they were clearly not as good as they were in 92-93 when they won the championship against the Phoenix Suns. Michael Jordan was a huge difference maker in the Chicago Bulls. And when you look at that 94-95 season, when they were 34-31 without Michael Jordan before he came back, they ended up going 13-4 with a Michael Jordan that wasn't in game shape. They ended up losing to the Magic in 6 games. That following year, they end up sweeping the Magic in 95-96 when Michael Jordan is back in the game shape, works out with the team in the offseason, works himself back into the team chemistry. They end up going 72-10, and they end up being one of the best teams, if not the best team in basketball history during that stretch, those next 3 seasons. And that's with Tony Kukoc, Steve Kerr, the new additions to the team. So Michael Jordan clearly his effect is clearly being understated when you look at the 55-win 93-94 Bulls team. They didn't beat the Knicks. because they weren't as good as they were the season before. They didn't even get to the conference championship. They couldn't get out the second round without Michael Jordan. They were in danger of being swept. On top of that, when you look at the regular season and you consider the point differentials between the points scored, points allowed, there were actually 4 teams in the East that were projected to be better than the Bulls. That's the Pacers, who I believe faced off with the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Final. No, in the conference final. I believe it was the Pacers and Knicks. The Pacers were, I believe, a projected 52-win team. So the Pacers, the Magic, the Knicks, and the Hawks were all better than the 93-94 Bulls that season. There was really only one team in the East that was better than the 92-93 Bulls with Michael Jordan, and that was the Knicks, which they ended up beating, I believe, in 7 games because of Michael Jordan. So I think his effect is clearly being understated when you really look at the raw data and the metrics. Michael Jordan is at least having him is a difference of about 10 games. And that's because I believe the 93-94 Bulls team got better, all other things equal, by adding Tony Kukoc to the mix. And he obviously hit that huge shot for him in Game 3. Otherwise, they would have went on to have been swept by the Knicks. But adding Tony Kukoc and an efficient Michael Jordan when he came back in 95, 96, it really shows a difference of about 10 wins. And that is huge in the NBA. So Michael Jordan's value is being really understated by people who either don't know what they're talking about or have an agenda. That 55 win Bulls team in 93-94 is being overhyped. They were basically a 50-win team that almost got swept by the Knicks. I don't think if they did beat the Knicks, I don't even think they would have beat the Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals. And I definitely don't think they had a shot against the Rockets those 2 years. So the Chicago Bulls needed Michael Jordan. They would not have won any of their 6 championships without Michael Jordan. Pippen is a great player, but to try to overhype this 93-94 Bulls team to make a case against Michael Jordan is just wrong. It's inaccurate. The numbers are against you. They needed Michael Jordan to win every one of their championships.